Often in our world today, the concept of sheltering children is viewed as a negative thing. Of course, it can be a negative thing if children are over-sheltered, but often in our world today, children are not sheltered enough, leading to high levels of anxiety, low self-confidence, and depression. It's interesting to me that homeschooled children tend to be more sheltered than non-homeschooled children, yet these sheltered children report higher levels of happiness and confidence. They are more likely to volunteer in the community and to attend religious services when they become adults. Sheltering a child is a beautiful and important part of being a parent. A house is a shelter from rain and storms. A tree offers precious shelter against extreme heat. A shelter is something that gives temporary protection from danger. Shelter for a child is a needed and blessed thing. Allowing a child a safe and nurturing and positive place to protect innocence, avoid damage, build confidence, faith, and discernment, so that the child will be strong enough to handle more and more along the way. Trust the feelings that you have. You have been given these precious children as their guardians. If you wonder if you are sheltering too much, don't turn to the world for answers or to what other people are doing, even the majority of people. Instead, turn to God. We are always blessed when we listen to the gentle promptings of the Holy Spirit more than we listen to the world. I'm watering plants today that I grew from seedlings in my greenhouse. These are actually violas, and they're edible plants that I like to put in my salads. And I love gardening. I see so much symbolism in the plants I work with. For example, these plants that grew from seedlings make me think of our precious children and the care and nourishment that they need to grow properly. And today I am talking about sheltering. People often ask if homeschooled children are too sheltered. And it is true that homeschoolers tend to be more sheltered than non-homeschoolers. And because of that protection and the nurturing environment they have, studies have shown that they gain above average self-esteem and social and emotional skills. Controlling the influences a child is exposed to is an important opportunity for a parent. It is a beautiful thing to shelter a child in places and with people who promote strong principles, and to also keep children away from books and media and peers who are not good influences. I can't say that I have always made the right decisions on how much to shelter or not shelter my children, and you won't either. We are not perfect, but we observe and we pray and we watch and we adjust and we just keep trying. So I want to share some principles that have helped me navigate the difficult decision of how much to shelter a child or to not shelter a child. These seedlings are protected in a greenhouse, growing in ideal conditions. They are tender sprouts that would not be able to survive outside the greenhouse right now. I'm not just going to take them out one day and plant them outside. I'm going to harden them off, giving them a chance to adjust to the new conditions without becoming damaged by too much exposure to the elements too soon. I'll take them out one by one for a little bit when there is no wind. Then every day I'll start setting them out longer and longer until I am sure they have become strong enough to handle the wind. Eventually, I will leave them in these containers outside overnight, and then finally, I will take them out of these containers and plant them in good, rich soil mixed with the natural soil in the place they are planted. You can probably see how this symbolism relates to sheltering, but there is a difference between these seedlings and children. These seedlings are pretty similar to each other, but children are not. What one child is ready for, another child might need many years to be ready for. I believe the key to getting the amount of sheltering just right is to consider 4 principles when you have a choice about how much to shelter or not shelter a child with people they are around or the books or the media that you give them. So principle 1, does my child have the strength to face the situation. Keep this in mind. The world is now so difficult and so dark and so confusing and so enticing and harsh. Before we place a child in a harsh, confusing environment, they should have discernment and strength enough to match the harshness and confusion. And for many kids, that takes years and years to gain that solid, sure foundation. Principle 2, there are some things children should never be exposed to. It's not that they really need to be hardened off to handle it, but just like some substances are poison to our body, some people, some books, some philosophies are toxic. Our children are greatly influenced by all the people they associate with, by their education, by the books that they read, by the media that they listen to. So there are some things that should simply always be avoided, even as an adult. In these things, we are not preparing our children to partake of them, but we are teaching them to eventually choose for themselves to avoid those things completely. Third, many people believe that children should directly experience hard things like bullying and painful situations to grow strong. But sometimes those situations cause serious, deep damage to a child. Your heart can lead you to know what level of sheltering each individual child needs and when. But I see too many children that need rescuing and shelter from experiences that are too intense and negative for their healthy growth. Trust your feelings and provide safe places for your children when you can. And consider this, if my husband was working in an office that had a terrible environment where he was belittled, I would never say, you should just stay there because you will learn how to be strong. We would never tell an adult they have to stay in an unhealthy environment because it will make them stronger. But we do that to children too often. And I don't believe that faith-destroying, unhealthy environments are a good place for anyone, let alone children. Fourth, children do not have to be dragged through all the ugly details of things going on in our world through movies or books in order to, quote, be ready for it. Children who have a diet of books and movies with heavy topics may feel hopeless, depressed, dark, and desensitized. It's not a correct principle that we need to fill our minds with the dark and sordid things of this world to be prepared for the world. Our children do need to know about hard things in our world and in our history, but how much and how often? God gave us a book to prepare us for the world. It's the Bible, and it does talk about heavy things, but without much detail. The Bible overall is very positive and full of wholesome content. I believe in using wholesome literature to teach books that you can read and have the Spirit stay with you while reading them, because it is free of graphic and profane things that offend the Spirit. These kind of books, just like the Bible, address heavy topics and misbehaviors, but not with heavy, sensational, extended details. And they don't make misbehavior seem normal, acceptable, or funny. It's important, again, to address heavy topics at age-appropriate levels, but it doesn't need to be extensive, detailed, or repeated, or dwell on the negative. Overexposure and focus on wrong and darkness depresses the human soul. On the flip side, here are some tips for avoiding sheltering your children too much. These are my personal thoughts, and you should adapt them however you need to. First, children need to have opportunities to fail and learn from those failures. It can be damaging to avoid discussing sensitive and controversial topics such as sexuality and politics with your children at the appropriate age. Also, it can be damaging to prevent children from ever feeling heartbreak and disappointment. And group activities like drama, orchestra, and sports allow them to experience disappointments while working with other people in a protective environment. And also, it can be damaging for children to not have enough interaction with other children. But I believe that our world has largely overinflated how much time that is. But it can be a problem when our children don't spend enough time with other children, especially as they get older. In homeschooling, it is actually easy to find interactions with other children. When and how much to shelter a child will vary in different circumstances, but do not be afraid to be deeply connected to your child and for God and you to be the biggest influences in your child's life. I was just reading an article online that claimed that parents need to largely disconnect from their children if they're going to be able to succeed in the world. And I believe that's actually very wrong. I believe that children can always be firmly, beautifully, deeply connected to their parents and also be strong enough and independent enough to face the world. And that should be our goal, not disconnection. I wanted to do this video because I am heartbroken to see how many youth are leaving Jesus Christ and his teachings when they reach adulthood. To end, I will just say that Noah Webster defined the action of sheltering as defending and protecting from danger. This is why children need parents and why it is beautiful to shelter our children, to protect them, to defend them. It is also a beautiful thing to be able to set our precious sprouts out into the world and to see them grow strong roots that help them weather the winds and the storms that they face.